Sepsis is a systemic inflammatory response to a known infection.
There are around 100,000 people a year who are admitted to hospital with sepsis. Of that, around 44,000 die every year because it's not recognised quick enough, and so it's not treated quick enough in hospital.
So we felt that if we could improve our care for patients with sepsis, not only would we be doing the right thing, but we'd also be trying to save many more patients' lives than currently was the case.
When we look at the national targets, we talk about the golden hour for treatment of sepsis, and that's from the identification of someone who has sepsis to then starting the treatment and administering antibiotics within 1 hour.
So that golden hour we weren't achieving at all, and patients were slipping through the net.
So first of all, we really wanted to understand what our current state was, where we currently were. We believed that we weren't delivering the best care that we could, but we wanted to know to what degree that was. So we spent a lot of time taking a deep look into the current state of the process to understand the timings and the issues and the aspects of the improvement work which we'd need to deal with.
What we did was we brought it back to the staff and said, what is it we can do to improve sepsis?
So these rapid improvement weeks identify elements such as the diagnosis phase of for the patient's journey, the treatment phase, turnaround of blood tests was another one, inpatient diagnosis as well. So we identified a number of areas where we needed to make small improvements, and our intention was to join all those up, and over the course of the 12 months, 2-year journey, we would see an improvement across the whole patient pathway.
They looked at assessment of sepsis and when do we actually start the clock. So we actually start the clock from reception. So the receptionist would ask specific questions which would highlight whether a patient was possibly septic or not. That would then give us an indication whether we needed to start the sepsis pathway.
The teams on SAU took a basic blood trolley and converted that into a sepsis trolley of their own, setting it up and creating it for their purpose, which has now been rolled out into a number of other areas, and they've followed the same process.
If I'd have just brought a trolley in and said this is what we're going to use, we wouldn't have used it. It would have gone in the corner, but because they created it and said this is what's best for us, then that's why it works. So it's the people doing the change, not imposing that change on them.
We looked at what did the staff actually know about sepsis. So we actually made a booklet. And this has actually gone trust-wide now.
All staff receive the sepsis booklets, HCAs, ward clerks, housekeepers, nurses, so everyone can recognise signs of sepsis.
So we've moved from a situation where we're trying to improve everything to trying to improve small parts of the process.
This is a very, very different way of working, and it's massively beneficial. I was very dubious at the start, but actually I'm one of the biggest promoters of Virginia Mason now.
Delivery of the sepsis bundle itself has been improved from it was taking over 2 hours, and it's now come down to half an hour. Just delivery of antibiotics was taking 2 hours, and that has been reduced down to 20 minutes now. The diagnosis phase, how we first recognise a patient, that was often taking over 2 or 3 hours just to get initial diagnosis, and now we're seeing that happening on AMU at Telford within about 20 minutes.
It was really nice to have the opportunity to actually step out of my own department to see how other units and other places in the hospital manage sepsis. Firstly, to take what we can from what they do to look at our own practice, but also to see what we can offer to them in order to improve their practice as well.
We've done a crowdsourcing of ideas. We've brought in ideas from people who ordinarily wouldn't have had much of a voice in decision making in this area.
The ideas are coming from the staff. It's not coming from a committee or a senior decision maker. The ideas for improvement are coming from HCAs, staff nurses, ward clerks. They're the ones who see the patients every day. They're the ones who work in the processes that we currently have and have identified the improvements.